Welcome to the Naga Chronicles Podcast. I'm Srimukh Duvvuri, author of The Serpent Prince. In today's episode, how I researched Naga Loka for The Serpent Prince. One of the questions I get most often is, how much of The Serpent Prince is made up, and how much is real? The answer might surprise you. The world building in the book is rooted in research, real texts, real traditions, real mythology. But turning ancient scripture into a living, breathing YA fantasy world, that took work. Here's how I did it. Starting with the source texts, I didn't begin with other fantasy novels. I began with the texts themselves. The Mahabharata was my primary source, specifically the Adipava, which contains the origin stories of the Nagas, the Sarpasatra, the serpent sacrifice, the tale of Astika, and the story of Vinata and Kadrir that explains the ancient enmity between the Nagas and Garuda. This is where you find the political dynamics between Nagas, humans, and gods laid out in detail. The Naga-Garuda rivalry became a structural element in my world building. The Bhagavata Purana and the Vishnu Purana gave me the cosmology, the structure of the universe, the nature of Patala, the underworld realms, and the descriptions of Naga Loka as a place of incredible beauty and wealth. These texts describe Naga Loka's cities as being studded with gems, lit by the glow of serpent jewels, and more magnificent than the heavens. I didn't have to invent a beautiful underwater kingdom. The texts already described one. The problem of translation. Here's something I wrestled with. Most English translations of these texts were written in the 19th or early 20th century by colonial-era scholars. They're valuable, but they come with biases. The translators sometimes flattened the complexity of the stories, moralized where the originals didn't, or missed cultural contexts that would have been obvious to the original audience. So I didn't just read one translation. I read multiple. I compared Kesari Mohan Ganguly's translation of the Mahabharata with Bibek Debroy's more recent one. I read commentary and analysis by Indian scholars who brought cultural fluency to the material. I talked to family members who grew up hearing these stories in Telugu. The mythology isn't just in books, it's in oral tradition, in temple art, in family storytelling. I drew on all of it. Turning research into world building, research gives you raw material. World building is about making choices. For example, the texts describe Naga Loka as being beneath the earth. But they also describe Nagas as being connected to water, rivers, oceans, rain. I had to decide, is my Naga Loka underground or underwater? I chose underwater because it felt more dynamic and allowed for a richer visual world, but I kept the beneath aspect. The Naga realm is below the surface, hidden from human eyes. The texts mention Nagamani, the serpent jewel, a gem of immense power that certain Nagas carry on their hoods. But I had to decide what the jewel actually does in my story. The mythology is vague on specifics. I made choices that served the plot, while staying true to the spirit of the original. The political structure of Naga society, the dynasties, the rivalries, the councils, is extrapolated from hints in the texts. The Mahabharata mentions multiple Naga kings and implies a complex political landscape, but it doesn't give you an organizational chart. I built one. What I changed and why, I want to be transparent about this. The Serpent Prince is a work of fiction, inspired by mythology, not a retelling of scripture. I made changes. I modernized the language and sensibility. The characters think and speak like contemporary young adults, because the book is written for contemporary young adults. I compressed timelines. I combined elements from different texts and traditions. I invented characters, relationships, and plot points that don't exist in any source material. But the foundation is always the mythology. Every major element, the Kashyapa lineage, the serpent dynasties, the sacred trials, the Naga human tensions, has roots in the real tradition. I built on top of the source material. I didn't replace it. Advice for writers drawing on mythology. If you're a writer thinking about drawing on Hindu mythology or any living religious tradition, here's what I'd say. Do the work. Read the primary sources, not just Wikipedia summaries. Understand the cultural context. Talk to people from the tradition if you can. Be respectful but not paralyzed. These stories have been retold and reinterpreted for thousands of years. You're not the first person to put a new spin on them. and you won't be the last. The tradition is robust enough to handle creative adaptation, as long as you approach it with genuine respect and knowledge. Know what you're changing and why. Every departure from the source material should be a conscious choice, not an accident of ignorance. If you change something, know what the original was and have a reason for the change. The mythology is a gift. Treat it like one. Thanks for listening to the Naga Chronicles Podcast. Follow me on Instagram at Srimukh Duvvuri and check out The Serpent Prince, a YA fantasy based on Hindu mythology. See you next time.